Good morning, everyone. Today we are extending our lesson about area, but we're making it, as we like to do, a little more complicated. As you are probably aware, when you're finding the area of a room, that room isn't always a perfect rectangle or a perfect square. Sometimes it's kind of an odd shape. For example, if I had a room that was in this shape, this is a more complex figure. This isn't a simple square or a rectangle. So today we're finding the area of complex figures. All right, so let me show you how to do this. What I do want to remind you before we do this is to please double, triple check your work before you turn it in, because this can get a little bit tricky. All right, make this a little bit up. Okay, so you'll notice there's a lot of numbers on this. Please do not get overwhelmed. When we're finding the area of this figure that is not a perfect rectangle, we're not just going to multiply this times this. Because if we did, that would not account for this space that is missing. There's a few different ways that you can do this. I'm going to teach you the way that I use, but if it makes more sense to you to find the area of this big rectangle and then subtract that part, you do whatever you need to do. All right, so here's the way that I would do it. I would split this figure into rectangles and squares because that's what we know how to do. We know how to find the area of regular rectangles and squares. So watch how I do this. I'm going to separate. I'm going to make this one big rectangle and this a rectangle, or a square in this case. So look, if I put a little line there, I now have a rectangle with a square on the top. I know how to find the area of rectangles and squares. Now be careful, because we have two numbers here and they're different. Here's the reason. This 12 feet represents this whole side right here. All the way up to here, that is 12 feet. I'm not finding the area of that big thing. I'm finding the area of this rectangle right here, which does not reach all the way up there. So that's why I said to double and triple check your work. Make sure you're multiplying the correct numbers. In this case, I'm going to multiply this 9 and this 5 because that represents this whole side and this whole side, which is what we would use to find the area of that rectangle. I would not use the 2 because that would not reach all the way over here. So to find the area of this rectangle, I'm going to multiply 9 times 5, and I get 45. So I found the area of that rectangle, and now I have to find the area of this square here. To do that, I'm going to do this one by this one. 3 feet times 3 feet. Again, I'm not going to use that 12 because that represents this whole thing. I'm going to do 3 times 3. And I get 9. Now think about, what do you think we are going to do with these two numbers to find the area of the whole thing? We are going to add them. So now that we have found the area of this and this, we're going to add them together. And we get 54 square feet. You'll remember from our previous lesson that when we're finding area, we put square in front of whatever units that we are talking about because it tells us that there would be grid squares in there that we can't see. So the answer to this is 54 square feet. I want to show you. I could have also separated this into, if I ignored this line right here, if I hadn't put that there, I could have also done the area of this rectangle here, along with this rectangle, I would have gotten 36 plus 18. And I would have gotten the same thing. I would have gotten 54 if I added 36 and 18. If that doesn't make any sense to you, if that confused you, please leave that alone. I'm going to show you one more way, and if this confuses you, it's fine. Don't worry about it. I'm going to talk to you about the way that I was talking about at the beginning of the lesson, where I find the area of the complete rectangle and then subtract that bit. I would do 12 times 5, which is 60, from the area of that whole rectangle, and then subtract 6, and I get 54. Do whatever makes sense to you. If the way that I explained this at first makes the most sense, do that way. Okay, going on to the next one. I have this here, and I'm going to separate it into rectangles and squares, or rectangles in this case. I could put it any which way I want. I'm going to put my line right here. That's just the two rectangles that I see. But if you wanted to put it right here, that would work as well. Okay, so I need to find the area of this rectangle. Now, which numbers do I multiply? I will tell you, I'm not going to multiply that 18 because that 18 goes all the way up to there. And our rectangle only goes up to here. So in this case, we're going to do 11 times 2. And we get 22. And then we're going to find the area of this rectangle up here. For this one, I'm going to do 7 times 4, because that represents the whole sides of those rectangles. And I get 28. Now I'm going to add them together. 28 plus 22 is 50. All right. Now let's say I had units on this. Let's say that this was in inches. It would be square inches. Please, as we go to the next one, or if you did it in a different way, that's totally fine. Pause the video, see if you get the same answer. All right, so as we go on to this next one, if you want to pause it at the beginning to try it by yourself and then see if you get the same answer as me, please do so. This is our last example that we're coming on. All right, as I did before, I am going to separate this into two rectangles. For me, I'm going to put my line right here. And now, to find the area of this rectangle right here, I'm going to multiply. I'm not going to do that 11 because that 11 goes all the way over here. I'm going to do 2 times 8. And I get 16. For this rectangle right here, this 2 only goes up to here. It doesn't go all the way up. So that I'm not going to multiply that 2 by anything. I'm going to do 3 times 4. And I get 12. So, to find the area of this entire thing, I'm going to do 16 plus 12 and I get 28 square kilometers. That's a tough lesson. Please, if you need more practice, use the IXLs that we gave you to practice on before you go do your Google form, because we don't want you to get all those answers incorrect. Make sure you know what you're doing before you go onto that Google form. Again, on your Google form, just as you did last time, please make sure you only use numbers. Do not write any words in the blank. Just use numbers. All right. Have a great day, fourth grade.